Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Network Hour podcast. I am your professional development coach and career coach, Molly Crease, and I am excited to be here with you guys once again. It is a hot day outside here in New Jersey, and I'm excited to be here. I have a special guest with me today. We are going to be talking about the topic of how can copywriting help your business. And so I want to introduce my special guest. Her name is Ginika Ebenebe. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And she is a copywriter. And so I am going to welcome you to the Network Hour podcast.
Thanks so much, Molly. It's so great to be here. Slight correction, it's Ginika Ebenebe, but close enough.
Okay, so Ginika Ebenebe. Okay, that is so great. So let's dive into it. Tell me a little bit more about yourself. Where are you originally from, and how has things been for you if you're not originally from the US? How was it getting here into the US and reaching? Tell us a little bit more about your journey.
Sure. So basically, I'm actually in Canada,
Okay.
yeah, it's okay. I'm Nigerian by nationality, but I never actually really lived there for very long. I was 5 years old when I emigrated from Africa to the South Pacific. So I lived in Samoa, near Fiji, basically, for about 13 years, and then I came to Canada in about 2012. And I studied accounting for a few years, and then worked in that for a few more years. And then, for just like with a lot of us, my career kind of took a shift when COVID happened. And so now I've pivoted entirely from accounting to running a copywriting business.
How was accounting for you? Because I know I studied well, kind of accounting, but it was really finance in college. But I always find myself going into that accounting area. Even now, in my full-time job, that's what I do. I do a lot of accounting and finance and stuff like that. So how is that industry for you? Did you enjoy it? Was it good?
I definitely enjoyed some aspects of it. Like I enjoyed working with numbers, which, is a thing that I think is very stereotypical of accountants, is we generally like working with numbers. I also liked the collaborative aspect of working on audits. I specialized in public accounting on the audit side specifically. But the things that I didn't really like so much about it is it just wasn't enough of a creative outlet for me, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I'm, it's a very highly sort of procedural type of job. And I really enjoy with copywriting, I really love that creative aspect of just being able to try different things and try different ideas. And so that was something that I was craving during my accounting experience.
Yeah, that's one of the things that discouraged me from really going directly into accounting. It's kind of not that creative space. And it's also kind of monotonous and boring because it's the same thing you're doing over and over, and then a lot of numbers. So I could definitely understand that. So tell me about how you maneuvered your way through this pandemic. How was the pandemic for you? What are some of the challenges you faced, and why did you decide to pivot? Why did you decide to make a career change?
So for me, it's almost like things were kind of decided for me because I had no intention of, leaving accounting that quickly. It's just that, as with many of us, I was actually let go from my old position when COVID hit. My firm made some cuts, and I found myself in this period of just like, okay, well, what am I going to do next? And the more I thought about it and had some time to, really do some soul searching, I really realized I just didn't really want to go back into that space. And so I started kind of, researching like, okay, what are some other things I can do? And in that process, I reconnected with a childhood dream of mine, which was to be a writer. Like I always wanted to be a writer growing up, but you kind of hear the whole starving artist thing. So I was sort of discouraged from that. And I went the sort of stable, safe accounting route. But then as I did some research and connected with some people on LinkedIn and whatnot, I realized that, content writing was a thing, copywriting was a thing. So I decided to give that a try. I would say that some challenges I really faced in that process was, first of all, just starting over from scratch. I've been in accounting for basically about 8 years, if you think about both the time I spent studying it and working in it. And all of a sudden I'm doing something that's completely different. Also learning a new skill from scratch. I have no marketing or anything background, so I had to learn those skills from scratch, pretty much self-learn. And also there were, and honestly still are, sometimes some mindset challenges, like comparing my first year in business to my previous coworkers' 5 years in accounting, and the progress they were making in their careers versus me starting all over again. And then that challenge of believing that it's possible to really make a sustainable income online. Like, those were all mindset challenges I faced when I was starting. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so familiar, because oftentimes we forget about our childhood dreams, our childhood passion, and we go into something that we think it's more realistic, it's more safe. And then down the road you realize, okay, I want to revisit this and really see what I can do with it. So I'm glad that you're revisiting it. I'm glad that you're getting back to that passion and stuff. So you said you always loved writing and all that stuff. So why copywriting? Because you could have done writing, and you could have done poetry, or you could have done writing a book, or you could have done all other things that goes into writing. Why did you choose that specific area of copywriting?
I would say I chose that area because one of the things I loved from working as an auditor was the whole project management aspect, and really working with people and helping to use my skills to improve their businesses in some way. And I've just found that copywriting is a way that I can do that, but in a more creative capacity right now.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
explain to our listeners what is copywriting, because we might be
Mhm.
talking, we know what it is, but the people that are listening might not have that clear understanding of what copywriting is. Kind
Mhm.
of tell us what copywriting is.
Sure. So just to make it really simple, I suppose, is copywriting is, it's like a form of, marketing. I basically write ads and emails and website copy and whatnot to help. Well, I focus on helping small businesses, but it's basically about helping, businesses to stand out through advertising and whatnot. So um, my goal is really to help my clients to connect with their audiences and sell more. So basically, what copywriting is about is it's about bridging that gap between the consumer and the business, the service or product provider, so that the customers understand that the business has what they need. And so some examples of copywriting you might come across in your day is if you drive past billboards, or if you even look at the back of a book and you see like the description of what that book is about, or the back of your shampoo bottle, all the information written there, that information that's sort of there to help give you the information that you need to understand what a product is and how, or service is, and how it can help you in your daily life or business, or other aspects.
Is the copywriting you do the same as, because I know when you write something, even as a small business, even you're writing a book or something, and you have that copywriting stamp and you stamp that.
Mm-hmm.
So is that in your line of what you do as well? Do you, after you finish writing something, and I can hear the truck passing by in the background, but that's
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. But that's to tell people it's live and it's real here, people. We can't get all the noise out. It's live. But the copywriting stamp, is that something that you do as well, or you just advise businesses to go and purchase that and get that done?
Sorry, can you clarify the question? I'm not really sure
Because
how to answer.
when I think of copywriting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had a business coach and she was telling me when you create content and you write your
Mm-hmm.
stuff and you don't want people to um, copy it or claim it as their own, you need to have a copyright. So
Oh, I see.
is that included in what you do as well?
Oh, that's actually very interesting and like sort of common question. A lot of people confuse like copyright, like RIGHT with copyright, which is WRITE. They're two totally different things. So the first one is all about, protecting your intellectual property and stuff like that. Whereas the second one is all about, marketing and advertising and really getting your message out to your audience and, you know, persuading and sort of enticing them to take positive action towards your business. So for instance, an example of copywriting is, if you read like say a blog post, let's say, and then at the very end, it tries to encourage you to sign up for a newsletter. That's an example of a small part of copywriting. Or if you go on a website and you see or let's say you're on Instagram and you see like an Instagram ad, right? You click on that and it kind of encourages you to sign up for a workshop because they have some answer to your problem. That's an example of copywriting. It's really meant to, sort of guide people along their journey as consumers and connect with businesses that can solve their problems.
See, that's why I'm here, people. I'm here to ask the questions that you're thinking because there's a difference, and I'm happy I asked that question. Another question that's floating around in my mind, and I think people might be wondering, is clarify the difference between you copywriting and a content creator, a marketing
Mm-hmm.
content creator, because it seems like it's similar in nature of what you do. So tell us what are the differences there?
Mm-hmm. So like the difference between a content writer and a copywriter, I suppose.
Yeah.
So content writers, I would say that their main goal is to create content that will either educate, inspire, or entertain audiences. So it's all about relationship building. I do think that content writing is a very key part of a marketing strategy because it's that sort of ongoing touch point with your audience to either teach them something or inspire them to, to do something or to educate them in some way. That is the real focus of content writing. Whereas copywriting, it's more, it's definitely focused more on trying to prompt an audience to take a specific type of action. So one difference that you'll notice when you read content versus copy is content writing tends to spend more time. It tends to be longer because the idea is to spend more time trying to engage an audience and build a relationship with them and all those really important things. But copywriting, really effective copywriting at least, we try to get our message across as quickly and succinctly as possible. And really, use very strategically chosen words that connect with, human psychology to kind of prompt people to, to take a certain action, let's say, whether it's signing up for your newsletter or signing up for a workshop or making a purchase, something like that.
Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. So there is definitely a difference there. So tell me why would I need copywriting in my business? As a small business owner, I am looking into building my business. I'm doing the website, I'm doing the Instagram, the Facebook, the what have you. And you say to me, well, Molly, you need to do some copywriting. What are the reasons why I would need that, and how would I go about finding the right copywriter for my business?
Mm-hmm. Sure, absolutely. So, going back to what I mentioned earlier, I mentioned how copywriting is all about bridging that gap between a target audience and a business so that, they can connect in an effective way. So my job is really to help my clients, well, my copywriting clients to, really not just encourage them to take an action that will benefit their business, but really to build trust with them. A bit of background as to why I think why copywriting is important is, nowadays, people are spoiled for choice when it comes to meeting their needs and wants. Like there are a lot of accountants out there. There are a lot of, cruelty-free skincare brands. There are a lot of, coaches out there. And so the question is, how do consumers choose between them? And I think that a copywriter can really help you to communicate your message in a way that is effective to show what makes you different from your competition. So I think copywriters can also help to fix what I see as common mistakes when it comes to website writing or social media writing. One example of a common mistake that I see is trying to talk to everybody. Like as a career coach, for instance, you might be tempted to try and talk to everybody who needs to find a job or who's trying to figure out like their career path and all that kind of stuff. But in order to speak more effectively to your audience, it's best to really hone down and narrow down to, okay, exactly who is my ideal customer profile? Who's the ideal person that my services can serve? So a copywriter can help you narrow down your focus and create messaging that speaks specifically to that person. Another example of how copywriters can help is, or common mistakes that we sometimes come across is using what I consider to be pretty sleazy sales tactics, try and get people to buy things, like, baiting and switching people, or really scaring them, or manipulating them into making, rash decisions. And I think that, good copywriters, they understand, yes, the power of persuasion, but they also know how to do it in a way that is ethical and in a way that treats prospects like human beings, Mm-hmm. And also another, one last common mistake I'll mention is a lot of brands talk a lot about themselves and also talk about what they do. Like when you go on an about page, a very common misconception is that the about page is about the business. And it is in a way, but a copywriter can help you to tailor that information in a way that connects with your audience and in a way that speaks to the problems that your prospects are facing, So all of these are major ways that copywriters can really help you to fine tune your messaging so that it really sparks attention and interest from your target audience.
That is good information. I did not know that. I did not know all about that. About copywriting. I also did not know that about the about page as well, because I'm thinking, if I'm going to do an about page, you're gonna want to know about my business and what I do. So that's what the about page is about. So that's interesting. That's good.
Well, yeah. Of course, yeah. Of course, people do want to know about your business, but something I always try to get my clients to remember is that, this might sound a bit harsh, but prospects and, clients and leads and all those people, at the end of the day, they don't really care about your business. What they care about is, what can your business do for them? And I find that a lot of times messaging on websites or social media fails to answer that sort of so what factor, like what's in it for me kind of factor. And copywriters are really good at good copywriters are really good at pulling that out and, helping customers to, of course, understand what the person or business does, but also connect it with their problems, So
because you talk about some things that should not be done. I kind of want to hear what some of the examples are. What are some of the sleazy things that writing that's out there to kind of trick customers or put customers in that space to wanna buy something?
Sure. So I would say, for one thing, it's an example is just really over-promising, like ridiculous things. For example, like, oh, this skincare product will change your marriage, kind of thing, And it's like, look, it's important to bring out the benefits, of course, of your product. But I think sometimes some brands will try to just over-promise and then under-deliver. That's one way. Another thing I think also is berating people. So I've noticed that it's not always that common, but I do come across every now and again where I'll see on someone's website really just sort of insulting their target base by their target clients by like saying things like, oh, your house cleaning methods are really stupid, like you should try ours, that kind of thing. And just a made up example, but that sort of thing where it's like, it's not like, like it's so, you know what I mean? Like that's not a great way to endear yourself to people. And then also just, manipulating people by really twisting and twisting into their fears. And, it is known, like, as far as psychology is concerned, that people are more motivated by pain than they are by pleasure. But I think that sometimes some forms of copywriting or marketing tends to just go way too far on the fear side and really try and manipulate people's greatest fears and their greatest concerns, and then use that to try and make themselves as, saviors or problem solvers, the only person that can take away that horrible pain or fear. And I feel like there is definitely a balance with bringing out that with, connecting to what a person is struggling with, but you can do that without causing basically psychological damage, on them. So those are some examples of some things that I've seen come across.
Wow, that's interesting. So what are some advice you would give to small business owners when it comes to copywriting? And if they're thinking about going into that direction of really having a copywriter, doing some copywriting, whether it be on their website or on their social media pages or what have you. One thing I didn't ask, is copywriting done in email marketing as well? It's done in email marketing as well. So
all across the board. Yeah.
All across the board. So what advice would you give to small business owners when it comes to copywriting and getting that done? Should they do it on all platforms, or should they focus on just the website, or what are the advice? Give it all to us.
Well, for me personally, I think it's always good to start on your website. And the reason I say that is because even if you have like all this amazing social media content, and then you drive people to your website, which is really what social media content should do, if people go to your website and then it falls flat, then it's like, they'll lose interest and then they'll leave. So yeah. I always think it's really good to really make sure that, because your website is pretty much like your online storefront, it is the one place that you should, I feel like show up really polished, really well done. Because no matter how people land there, whether they land there through your email list or through your social media or through word of mouth, that is the one place where they're going to make up their mind about whether or not they're going to take it a step further and contact you or even make a purchase. So I would say that's a really good place to start. In terms of finding a copywriter and a good one to work with, I would say that some ways of being able to tell whether a copywriter is a good one is, of course, they should have some sort of portfolio to show the kind of work that they've done, whether it's, with clients, or whether it's examples that they've created themselves to show their skills. I think, so one way is definitely, do they have a portfolio? Do they have something to show that they can, write, that they can write well? Do they ask you good questions? I think is another thing that another telltale sign of a good copywriter, because a copywriter that asks you really good questions, it means that they're digging into the heart of your issue. Like they're going beyond the surface level, and they're helping you to really draw out all those necessary pieces to construct the right messaging. And also, do they have some sort of a smooth, some sort of a process that that you can follow and that you can trust? So I would definitely ask them what their process is, what is their turnaround time, all those things to just make sure that you're in good hands. Yeah, that's finding a copywriter. As far as like the actual work is concerned, I would say also make sure to, if you're going to work with a copywriter, make sure to give them as much detail as you possibly can. So a lot of copywriters will ask you for a creative brief, and hopefully it will have really detailed questions in it already, like if they give you a template. But if not, you might want to consider going online and sending them a template with all the details that they could possibly need to know about you, your business, your goals, all those things. And the reason is because the output of copywriting is really only as good as a client's input. I have I've had some clients where it's like, oh, I tried my best to extract information from them, and I just could not get that much. So as unfortunately, the end result wasn't what I would hoped it would be. And there's others that really cooperated with my process and who were very thorough in giving me every information that I needed, which helped me to produce output that we were both happy with. Yeah, and then I would also say the last thing is to know that copywriting is an investment. I think a lot of people, when they talk to copywriters for the first time, they're like, oh my gosh, that is so expensive, because it can be, but it is an investment, and it's something that's going to be on your website or, whatever medium for a very long time and help you generate revenue over time. So I would say be prepared to have that discussion, and don't be shocked when they quote prices if it's the first time you're working with a copywriter, because sometimes I find that some business owners are like, just like, well, that sounds like a lot, but yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason we charge what we do.
I mean, you have to, at the end of the day, you have to pay for value. You don't want to pay something that's inexpensive and then it doesn't work for you at the end of the day. It's like you're going to be spending more money, because then you're going to have to go for somebody to fix that, because the first time it wasn't done properly. So I'm a firm believer in, if something is worth the price, you have to pay for it to get the results you want. But last question, seeing that you mentioned that copywriting can be expensive and stuff, give us an average or a ballpoint figure of what it can cost to probably do an about page for your website, or help with the services side of your website or whatever. You don't have to give your prices, but what is a range in what good copywriters would charge for something like that?
That's a difficult question to answer, but only because it is so project related. Okay. For instance, it can depend even like on the industry, in the industry. Like if you're in an industry that is really complex to understand, I don't like, let's say like some sort of tech industry, for instance, it may take a copywriter a lot longer to be able to really delve into your industry and accurately portray it on your website. So unfortunately, I can't really give ranges per se, because it's so dependent on the level of work that's going to go into it, depending on a number of factors.
Okay, so it can be determined on different industry, whether you're in coaching or finance or what have you. Okay.
Yeah, it can be industry dependent. It's also like experience dependent. So one thing I would also say, if you're looking for a copywriter, is to determine if you really need someone who specializes in your industry, because there are copywriters like me who we write for various industries, and that works well because that can work well because we're good at understanding your industry. However, there may be times when a business may need to find someone who is really specialized in what they do, and that person can cost probably way more than what a more general specialist type of copywriter would cost. Okay. So there are a lot of factors. Yeah.
Okay. So we are winding down to the end. And so I want to thank you so much for coming here and talking to us about copywriting. I was taking notes. I've learned a lot just from this interview. Tell us how we can contact you for your services, where we need to go, what we need to do, all of that good stuff.
Sure. So I go online by the name The Quintessential Corner. It's kind of a long name, but you can definitely just type my name and find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, yeah, is the main way that you can probably find me, and I am very responsive. So you can also email me. My email is my last and first name @gmail.com. So yeah, those are a couple of ways that you can contact me.
Okay. And never fear, my listeners, I will get all of her information. That information as well would be placed down in our podcast notes. So you would have that information if you want to contact her. I want to thank you so much for coming and talking to me about copywriting and about what you do and your services. It's very unique. It's the first time I've heard about something like this. I've always been familiar with content creators, but not really copywriting. So I'm so glad that you came through to talk to us about this. I'm sure my audience would learn a lot from what you've given us, and hopefully we get some people contacting you and blowing up your DMs,
Yeah, hopefully
so,
that'd be great.
so that you can help them with their business and help them with their copywriting. I want to thank you again for coming to the Network Hour podcast. This has been another episode of the Network Hour podcast with our special guest, Ginika.
Yes, yeah,
Right,
Ginika.
I got it. I
Yeah.
got it. With our special guest, Ginika, the copywriter, and we thank you so much for giving us all these pointers, all these tips. I want to remind my listeners to go out there, network, build your tribe. Remember, the reward is greater than the risk of putting yourself out there. So we put ourselves out there all the time by doing this video, by bringing you good content and great valuable information. And I am really urging you to go out there, put yourself out there, go back. You hear Ganika say she went back to her childhood passion, and you might be thinking right now what you want to do, what you need to do. Revisit some of those goals you had, and really look at them and see if you can start working on those goals, and really try to fulfill your purpose. Thank you so much again. Until next time, this has been another episode of the Network Hour podcast. We will see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, Molly. So great talking to you.
You're welcome.